Okay, so now we're going to be discussing filtration. As we all know, कि filtration is simply you have this कि आपके पास आएगा content from the afferent arterioles और glomerulus में आता है pressure develop होता है hydrostatic pressure और आपके पास filter होना शुरू होता है content. अब now you have to imagine कि for example you have 100 molecules coming in. Only 20 molecules would just simply get filtered. That is your filtration fraction. A filtration fraction में क्या होता है कि glomerular filtration rate is divided by the renal plasma flow, the amount of plasma fluid that was coming into the kidney, and then the amount of molecules that were filtered. ठीक है? That is your 20% normal filtration fraction. GFR can be estimated with creatinine clearance. Again, aniline is not used because you have to give it through IV, and then there are multiple samples that you have to take, either blood or urine samples. So creatinine is the one which is usually selected for the GFR. It is a bit overestimated. Why? Because your proximal convoluted tubule ends up secreting some of the creatinine into the urine. Up now there are two very, very important points, prostaglandin and also angiotensin 2. Now prostaglandins are going to be acting on your afferent arterioles and they're going to make them dilate. So more blood would simply enter. If you're going to be giving NSAIDs, that's going to be inhibiting your cyclooxygenase enzymes, which is going to decrease the prostaglandin production. Now prostaglandin levels would eventually fall, and that's going to lead to what? That's going to lead to the constriction of the afferent arterioles. Now you're going to be taking into the efferent ones. On efferent cells, what happens is that angiotensin 2 basically acts on the efferent arterioles, and it's going to cause the vasoconstriction of it. So if there's constriction of this vessel, that means that there's going to be a backup of the fluid. If there's backup of the fluid, which means, for example, just consider this as your glomerulus. Here the blood entered, and from here it was leaving. Now you've just constricted this. This means that a large amount of blood would enter backwards, and it's going to increase the hydrostatic pressure. So glomerular filtration rate is going to be increasing, and the renal plasma flow would eventually decrease because less blood is basically moving forward. Right? So if you're going to give angiotensin 2 blockers, which are basically the ACE inhibitors, now ACE inhibitors would simply just constrict, because angiotensin 2 actually constrict this. So if you give ACE inhibitors, it's going to actually inhibit and cause constriction of the dilatation of the efferent arterioles, because angiotensin 2 क्या करवा रहा था, वो efferent की constriction करा रहा था. When you inhibit this, it's going to lead to the vasodilation of the efferent arteriole. This is the very most important table that you need to understand. First of all, efferent arteriole constriction. So if there's constriction of efferent arteriole, what happens is that it's just simply going to cause less blood to enter into the kidney. So less blood is going to be entering through this constricted vessel. That's going to decrease the GFR, decrease the renal plasma flow. Filtration fraction will remain same because both of them are decreasing. Efferent arteriole constrict hogi, that means that your GFR is going to increase because most of the blood would enter backward into the glomerulus capsule, and then more hydrostatic forces are going to be generated, whereas the renal plasma flow, it's going to decrease. Why? Because the efferent arteriole is going to be carrying less fluid forward in the forward direction. Plasma protein concentration, which means the fluid within the blood vessel. If there is more protein inside, the GFR is going to decrease because the fluid is going to be attracted toward the proteins. If we're talking about decrease in plasma protein concentration, which means most of the fluid is going to be entering into the glomerular capsule, which means that the GFR is going to be increasing. If you constrict the ureter, which means that the Bowman capsule is going to be filled with fluid because the urine is not flowing out, this means the pressure is going to be building up or in the Bowman's capsule. So because of that, now the urine is not going to be produced at that rate. So again, GFR would decrease. Dehydrated patient, normally renal plasma flow is going to decrease much more than glomerular filtration rate. So आपके पास जो filtration fraction होता है, surprisingly for the dehydrated patient, it's going to be more. Why? Because renal plasma flow actually ends up decreasing. Now there's also this important concept, nephrectomy. Nephrectomy is when a portion of the kidney is removed. That means the number of nephrons जो होते हैं वो कम हो जाते हैं. So the remaining kidney, there's decrease in remaining kidney renal function up to 50% of pre-nephrectomy value until long-term compensation like hypertrophy develops. Over time period hypertrophy नहीं develop होना है, उसी time period में नहीं होना, over time develop होना है. ठीक हो गया. Now we're gonna be discussing about in the next video.